Hello everyone, myself Ruth Vipal. Today I am going to discuss Northrop Frye and the death of authorial intent structuralist perspective. Academic information, table of content, and my research question: how does Northrop Frye structuralist framework challenge the dominance of authorial intent in literary criticism, and what are the implications of this shift for modern interpretive practice? And my hypothesis is Northrop Frye's structuralist theory redefines literature as a system of mythic and archetypal patterns independent of authorial intent, thereby democratizing interpretation and evolving the autonomy of text. However, this detachment from historical authorship raises a tension with ideological and cultural reading, particularly in the feminist and post-colonial context. Introduction. Northrop Frye structuralist vision. Frye's in autonomy of criticism sees literature as a system of recurring genres and archetypes. He writes, the artist does not create ex nihilo. Like Ruchiman notes, structuralism uncovers the independent social relation. Frye applies this to literary form and structuralism in literary theory. Structuralism keeps a deep cultural pattern. Frye's archetypes echo Levis' stress, isomorphism, different stories, some hidden structure. As Runjiman says, meaning lies in the total myth structures of culture, but he warns these may reduce art to code breaking. Authorial intent under critique. Frye shift focus from author to structure. Runciman support this to study from. We must study it generative process, but Frye's myth-based system can ignore historical roots. Its strength is also its blind spots. Frye's legacy and tension. Frye's cynic view treat literature as a timeless, like so serious language system, but it Runjiman asked, can it solve the clash between idealism and imperialism? Frye leaves us with a method and a debate. Not This is a biography of Northrop Frye and Frye's key ideas and lasting influence. Frye's archetypal criticism sees literature as a shape by timeless myths rooted in the collective unconsciousness. His structural approach shifted focus on the author to cultural pattern, laying groundwork for a structuralist and post-structuralist thoughts by framing all structural within a shared mythic network. Frye anticipate idea of intertextuality and cultural meaning that define postmodern criticism. Structuralism in literature theory. What is structuralism? Focus on how parts of text connect, not what the author meant. Frye sees literature like a language, but built on recurring myths and symbols. On universal in structure. So stories follow myth a pattern like the hero's journey. Frye's link these two narrative cycles. Romance incarnates the yearly cycle. Romance reflect the ideals, desire, no conflict. Critique of Frye's structuralism reveals the pattern, unifies literature, ignore history and politics, oversimplify desire and characters, roles, reduce desire to abstract cycles, doesn't explain how literature affects society. And Frye's method is powerful for pattern analysis but less effective for social and emotional depth. Frye's structuralist approach. Frye structure is equal to system. Frye sees literature like the periodic table, structures universal, timeless, draws on myth and archetypes to create meaning. Four forms of prose fiction classify literature by tone plus perspective. Novel, realistic, and outward facing. Romance is the inner world and myth tone, and convention is a personal and physical, while autonomy is abstract and satirical. Myth versus Dainoya. Frye split fiction into mythos, story and structure, and Dainoya. Criticism of Criticism of the models. Scholars argue that category versus too fixed. Fry is accused of ignoring time history in his system, and Fry defends it. Fry's system treats all genre equally, no hierarchy. It's inductive, built from reading actual text, not just theory, and its legacy. Fry's work inspired narratology and post-structural method, but critics say it can't handle historical or cultural change well. The death of authorial intent. Frye's move from biography to myth. Fry move us from asking what the author meant to how literature use myth. Lit, li- Literature use myth and myth versus ideology. Authors are shaped by ideology, but literature transcends those. Fry says ideology is applied mythology, partial and political, against traditional and surface. He critiques a traditional reading as to force on author's message, emphasize myth versus depth, what Fries calls underthought. Black poetry more about cosmic structure than political intent and uh, contribution and controversy. Positive often takes to border implication highlight the mythic power. Problem like risk erasing authors, especially marginalized voice who use literature to speak back. Frye's perspective on authorial intent. Frye's core idea that argue that meaning in literature comes from myth, not the writer's personal story. Literature is a displacement of a mythology. Autonomy of the text. A novel is made from others' novel. It exists within a closed literary system. Fries move away from biography to structure and intertextuality. Romanticism sees authors as visionaries. Fry disagree. Classical thoughts says the art copies really. Fry says literature creates its own world. And Fry's warns against the reducing text to conscientized message. He values the deeper symbolic layer to underthought, implicate and debates. It empowers structural analysis beyond the author, and it concern that can silence authors from oppressed background where intent matters. Implication for literary criticism. Symbol versus reference. Fry show that meaning shows meaning flow both inward myth and outward society. Then not just idea texts are shaped by what character and readers long for. For example, Emba's Brewery's tragedy is born from a comic yarning, not realism. Time and timeless. Even historical texts reflect the internal mythic pattern. Paradise Lost is read through the misstep that teach us mythic truth, and criticism as ethical labor is not just interpretation like a cultural and invasion. The past is our buried life. We uncover ourselves through the text. Fries versus deconstruction, where deconstruction sees a collapse. Fries offers humanist coherence. Literature can resolve purpose, not resolve it. And Fries remind us that literature perspective and motives, and in doing so gives us back our voice. Conclusion. To conclude, Fry revolutionized how we read literature, not as a personal expression, but as a part of a broader mythic system. His rejection of authorial intent gave rise to universal reader central criticism. By focusing on archetypes, structures, and desire, Fry's help us see literature as a map of human consciousness across time. Even with valid critique, his framework still empowers us to interpret text with depth and cultural awareness. In today's fragmented world, Fry's vision reminds us literature hold meaning not just in what it says, but in how we connect into the larger human story. These are the references, and thank you. This is from my side.
Yes, next one, you can reply in the comment. Yeah, your questions are here.